Providing legal services and representation to Minnesota's low-income residents is an ongoing battle. Our local legal aid and volunteer attorney programs are at the forefront of that struggle. Good evening, and welcome to Lawyers on the Line. I'm Sean Quinn, a partner at Falsani Balmer Peterson Quinn, and this evening's moderator. I'm pleased to welcome our panelists, Dori Streit, Executive Director of the Legal Aid Service of Northeastern Minnesota, and Erica Backstrom, Executive Director of the Volunteer Attorney Program. We're ready for your questions. Call locally at 218-788-2844, or if that's long distance, you can call our toll-free line at 1-877-307-8762. And now our first question. Dori, what is the Legal Aid Society?
So Legal Aid, or specifically here, Legal Aid Service of Northeastern Minnesota, is a law firm of attorneys who represent low-income individuals. And so these attorneys are salaried paid attorneys representing people for free. And so they represent folks in civil legal matters, ranging from family law to housing, criminal expungement, consumer law, and they represent them in court. They give them legal advice, they give them extended services, and they ensure that people have access to justice in our court system.
Okay, and these lawyers are lawyers who are paid lawyers, but they're not paid by the clients.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so now Erica, what's the volunteer attorney program then?
So Sean, the Volunteer Attorney Program is a nonprofit organization. We're a staff of 5, typically here, officed in Duluth, and we serve a service area of 11 counties of northeastern Minnesota. And what we do is we work with the attorneys in private law firms throughout our service area to provide pro bono legal services to qualified clients of the Volunteer Attorney Program. So the difference is that our program is working with volunteer attorneys who provide those services pro bono for clients who qualify.
Okay, and so the lawyers who are the volunteers are not employees of the Volunteer Attorney Program?
No, they are not.
Okay. Now you mentioned pro bono, that's a term of art for us lawyers, free services.
Yes, it's at no cost to the client.
Okay. So how do these two organizations work hand in hand?
Sure.
Okay. Either one of you, I don't care.
So oftentimes someone will come to our program through either calling us to do an intake with our office. We have great staff who do the intake process, and we'll walk them through what our questions are to see if they're eligible for further services. Our next step is we sign them up for one of our Ask an Attorney clinics, which we have several throughout our service area. And then they would be able to sit down with an attorney one-on-one to discuss their civil legal matter. So.
Okay. All right, and then how does that work with legal aid then?
So pro bono and legal aid really go hand in hand. We have very few resources to provide to people that are eligible or that are low income that are looking for assistance with their civil legal services. And so there are staff attorneys at the legal aid program that can provide those services to individuals, but there are only so many and there's a tremendous need. And so pro bono is critical to be able to help fill the gap where legal aid attorneys cannot provide that assistance. And so we work hand in hand to say where is a strength of legal aid attorneys and where is a strength of pro bono attorneys to ensure that the spectrum of legal services, the need for legal services can be met.
Okay. Well, you mentioned this great need of services. Are the services of all, and Erica mentioned eligible clients, are the services of all these eligible people in our region being met?
No.
Okay. All right.
Maybe I should talk about why.
Tell us what the problem is.
So, well, first, let's talk about what eligible means. So we use specific poverty guidelines to determine if people are income eligible for services. So we're required by our funders to screen for that, to provide them with services. So we provide assistance to people whose income is under 125% of the federal poverty guidelines, and the Volunteer Attorney Program provides assistance for individuals whose income is up to 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. And so there's that element. They also need to reside within our service area. Our organizations share the same 11 county service area of Northeastern Minnesota. And so if they're income eligible and geographically eligible, then we're going to try and help find somebody services. But I'll say that the ratio in the state of Minnesota for legal aid attorneys to eligible individuals is 1 legal aid attorney for every 4,000 eligible individuals.
All right, and so no one lawyer can represent 4,000 people.
Obviously not.
And that's where the volunteers come in, Erica?
Yes, it is. So we work really cooperatively with the legal aid. And so there's often times where a client may have not been able to get assistance from legal aid, and they'll call us, and then we're able to contact all of our volunteers and see if someone would be able to assist that client.
Okay, and I take it even with the number of volunteers out there, there's still an unmet need.
Yes, that's
Okay.
true.
Is Minnesota doing a better job than some other states in that regard?
You know, Minnesota does have a number of legal service organizations. So within the whole state, there are actually 7 Minnesota coalition organizations, and legal aid is one of them. But there are a number of other legal service partners across the state. In our region, there are other civil legal service providers, such as Indian Legal Assistance Program, the Minnesota Disability Law Center, PAVSA, and many other individuals. We have a self-help center and law library attorneys both in Duluth at the Southern St. Louis County Courthouse and both in Virginia and Hibbing, so in Northern St. Louis County. And so we really are trying to provide a spectrum of services to folks, and we're fortunate that we're able to do that in the state.
Okay, so if they can't get a legal aid lawyer, they can't get a volunteer, there are these other places where people might be able to get services.
And that typically does mean that they will have to proceed pro se, which means they would have to represent themselves.
Okay. Erica, Dori mentioned the law library having a service. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, so Sean, oftentimes someone will come to our clinic and they'll meet with an attorney, and an attorney will describe for them what paperwork they would need to fill out to proceed pro se. So if they're looking to initiate an action, perhaps it's a conciliation court action, they would then be able to see the self-help attorney in the law library who can direct them to the specific form they would need to fill out and then have filed to start that action.
Okay. And now that lawyer's not going to offer any legal advice, but at least guide them through the process, as I understand
That's
it?
correct. And one thing we will do through our program is if there is someone who has filled out pro se paperwork on their own, they are able to sign up for our Ask an Attorney clinic to bring that paperwork and have one of our attorneys review it with them.
Okay. Now, both of you have mentioned civil legal services. Why don't you explain to the viewers the difference between civil legal services and criminal legal services? It may be self-evident, but maybe it's not.
Sure. So civil legal matters are going to include everything other than a criminal law matter. So we're talking about everything that meets someone's basic needs, whether it's housing, if it's a family law matter, if it's a consumer credit matter, employment issues. We're also taking criminal expungement cases at this time.
Okay. And criminal expungement is getting rid of the criminal conviction off of someone's record, or at least eliminating it somehow.
Yes. Okay.
Now, Dori, a caller called. What is the poverty level? What are the dollar figures? I guess they want to know the specific amounts if you know those things off the top of your head.
You know, they do change every year. And so they've recently been updated, but it is calculated based on household size, and it also is based on the combined income of individuals in the household. So off the top of my head, I don't have that chart available. You can look it up online if you Google federal poverty guidelines.
And the number of people living in the house, adults and children.
Correct.
And then the number of people who are living there working and earning money.
And it would be a combination of their gross monthly income.
Okay. And as I understand it, legal aid will give certain credits for monthly expenses as well to try to get people under that guideline limit.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, what does somebody need to do to get a legal aid attorney?
They need to call or walk into one of our offices. So I guess I should just state that Legal Aid has 5 offices in this region. So there's an office in Duluth, there's an office in Virginia, there's an office in Grand Rapids, an office in Brainerd, and an office in Pine City. They each have local numbers you can call. They each have local addresses that are accessible. You can contact them between the hours of 8:30 and 4:30. And when you call, you do an intake to see if you're eligible for services. And then your intake will be passed off to a case handler to determine what level of services you would be eligible for.
And Erica, you mentioned the Ask an Attorney clinics that the Volunteer Attorney Program runs. Is that how somebody gets involved with the Volunteer Attorney Program to start?
Yes. So Sean, someone will call our office and then we look to sign them up for the closest Ask an Attorney clinic to where they live. So
how many do you have?
So we operate right now 14 Ask an Attorney clinics throughout our area. So we have one clinic that's held every Wednesday here in Duluth at the St. Louis County Courthouse. We also have clinics that we're trying a new pilot project with the Community Action Duluth, where we're holding a monthly clinic at their location. And the next clinic there is April 18th from 2 to 5 p.m.
Okay, and then the remaining clinics are outside
Throughout,
of the Duluth area?
Yes, throughout our service area.
Okay. Service area. What if somebody can't make it to one of those clinics?
Sure. So we have worked to provide other options for our clients. So oftentimes we'll have someone contact us and say, you know, for me to take off the time from work to go to a clinic, I'm having troubles doing that. You know, my supervisor isn't allowing me to do that. Or I can't drive, I can't get to one of the clinics. Or if they're looking to come to the clinic from a distance that's over, 45-minute drive, we now look to sign them up for a phone advice session with one of our volunteer attorneys. And we found this has been very successful. Our volunteer attorneys really appreciate that they can provide a quality service to someone who really needs it from their own office, from their desk. So we sign them up and then we look to match them with an attorney who's skilled in the area that they have a question about.
Okay, and then just as a follow-up on that, some people don't want to go to a courthouse.
Correct.
So
Yes.
you mentioned the community action here in Duluth. What about those in the outlying regions?
In the outlying regions, right now our clinics are at the courthouses. So we have those clinics at the Itasca, Pine, Aiken, Virginia, Hibbing, and Crow Wing courthouses right now, and Carlton, excuse me, in addition to the weekly clinic in Duluth. So if those individuals have concerns, they can contact us and let us know that, and we'd look to schedule them with another option for them to get advice.
And Dori, when someone makes a call and you run them through the process you've already described, how do they get in touch with the actual legal aid attorney, whatever the level of service may be?
So after their case is passed off to a case handler, it's screened to determine which attorney in the organization would be an appropriate match. And so they'll receive a call to let them know if the level of service that can be provided is advice, brief service, or full representation. And sometimes it's not readily apparent, and so there does need to be some client interview period with the case handlers, specifically either the paralegals or the staff attorneys. And then depending on resources and depending on merit, depending on the priorities of the organization, they'll determine whether or not they'll provide further services.
Now, both of you have described having the same geographic service region. For our viewers, what is that region? What are the 11 counties?
So the 11 counties would be Cook, Lake, St. Louis, Carlton, Pine, Kanabec, Aitkin, Crow Wing, Cass, Itasca, and Couchiching counties.
Okay. Now, Erica, you both have touched on this a little bit, but generally, what type of cases are we talking about that are the more typical type of cases, and what kind of services do people get for these kind of cases?
Sure. So again, we help individuals with civil legal matters. So and we provide 3 levels of services. So we have that advice level for someone who contacts us through the Ask an Attorney clinic, or that we would place for a phone advice call. We also look to provide brief services when they're available. If an attorney says, this person would really benefit from having a letter written, and I'd be happy to do that. That would be an example of a brief service. And then we also look to provide extended representation to clients who have a need for representation throughout their legal matter. And we work with an excellent group of over 150 volunteer attorneys throughout our 11 county region who take those matters on and will take on the extended representation of clients as well.
Okay. And these are, and Dori, I take it legal aid does the same type of thing as far as the type of cases we're talking about, generally.
There is more of an emphasis, excuse me, on some other areas of poverty law. Legal aid attorneys are experts in housing and family law and consumer law and public benefits, senior citizen law. For example, in housing, they assist with public benefits, public housing denials, evictions. In senior citizens matters, they have specialized legal service in MA matters when elders are having issues with their nursing homes. There are so many very specific poverty-driven areas that are very specialized that legal aid attorneys are experts in. And so we really do try to recognize when those circumstances are present and prioritize those files. If it's something that we think that other resources could provide services for, such as a volunteer attorney program, then legal aid will make a referral to the volunteer attorney program in order to maximize both organizations' resources.
Okay. And what about somebody, let's say we have a couple that are getting a divorce. You both mentioned family law as an area that you both deal with. And, the husband and the wife cannot afford attorneys. Is that where one might have a volunteer lawyer and one might have a legal aid lawyer?
It's certainly possible. Does that always happen? No. But the organization does prioritize victims of domestic abuse and those with small children. And so there are many people that are looking for assistance in family law matters. And so there do have to be priorities about, what is at stake here. And so if we're looking at a divorce situation where, two people are looking to get a divorce, it's not contested, or it's contested, but it's about property, for example, that's not necessarily something that legal aid would prioritize.
Erica, does the volunteer attorney program also prioritize given the limited resources?
Yes, given the limited resources, we also have priorities of families where there are young children involved, families who are experiencing issues with domestic violence. And if there are other reasons that an attorney meeting with a client might find especially compelling. Also, the whole philosophy of our program is looking to make a balance in the court system. So if one party already has an attorney and the other party has come to us looking for representation, we would look to find them an attorney so that they would have that representation in court.
Okay. And you mentioned 100, 150 volunteer attorneys
Yes.
that work with the organization.
Yes.
There's probably a couple of lawyers watching our show right now.
Yes.
Tell them why they should volunteer.
Yes.
Those who aren't already volunteering.
Right. So the volunteer attorney program looks to provide great opportunities to volunteers. Oftentimes an attorney will contact us and say, I've wanted to learn more about this area of law, and we can look to match them with a mentor attorney so that they're able to learn more of that area of law that they're interested in. We also look to provide training opportunities for them. And we can say, what area are you interested in learning more about, and offer some training in that area. So besides the fact that there are clients who are needing assistance, and it's a way for an attorney to give back to their community. And as attorneys, we have that ethical obligation to look to meet the needs of those in our communities who can't afford it.
All right, Dori, you You were the executive director of the volunteer attorney program before Erica. Expound on that. Why else should people volunteer? Lawyers.
Erica did a great job.
She did.
You know, we've talked about the need, we've talked about the lack of resources. You know, aside from the fact that it's an excellent opportunity to give back to those in our community, it's important to recognize that there's a limited number of people available to provide a need that is a basic need to individuals. And so, like we've said, there are legal aid attorneys, but think about all of the people that aren't getting even just a little bit of advice for a legal matter. And, you know, should they pursue it or should they not? They need to talk to a lawyer. And so we depend on the private bar to recognize this need and recognize that their profession gives them an obligation, an ethical obligation, to volunteer. And so the Volunteer Attorney Program is an excellent organization that will provide support, training, and mentorship. And Legal Aid also provides training and mentorship to volunteer attorneys. And so Legal Aid is invested in volunteer attorneys having the right information, having the right training to provide that type of resource to the clients that we serve. And so we partner to ensure that everybody's successful in this type of representation.
Now, one of the areas that I can't even remember which one of you mentioned was criminal expungement. And I'm not going to ask you to explain what criminal expungement is necessarily, but why is that so important? That's kind of a hot legal topic right now. Why is that so important?
Well, historically, there was not many circumstances where people could have successful criminal expungements. There was some case law that prohibited many types of statutory expungements from having a meaningful expungement. So you would have something on your criminal record, and it may be gone in the judicial courts, but it was not necessarily gone from the BCA, or all the internet sites where you can look up people's backgrounds. Do we need to stop?
No.
No? Okay, sorry. So the law changed just a couple of years ago. Luckily, the Minnesota legislature passed a second chance law, which then expanded people's options to have certain criminal convictions expunged. And so now we're seeing an opportunity for people to have that second chance. It's really exciting. And so we're really trying to get that information out there because people were very much deterred from requesting criminal expungements because, like I said, they weren't meaningful. But now they can be. So I know the Volunteer Attorney Program, it's a great fit for pro bono. Legal Aid does a lot of criminal expungements as well. There's a lot of people that could use a lot of help with that.
Okay. And it makes a real difference in people's lives, correct, Erica?
Absolutely. So we have clients who have said, this is keeping me from getting a good job, or this is keeping me from getting into safe housing. And we've heard on the other side from the volunteers who've said, this was some of the most meaningful work I feel like I've ever done as an attorney.
And it's not necessarily all that complicated for the lawyer, but it's terribly important for the client.
Yes, yes it is.
All right, now, I'm going to throw out the myth.
Okay.
I want a good lawyer, not a volunteer lawyer, or not a legal aid lawyer. Myth or truth?
Myth. So all of us went to law school because we wanted to go into a profession where we were helping people, where we were making a difference in people's lives. So when you're working with a legal aid attorney or a volunteer attorney, these are people who are passionate about what they believe in. They have chosen a vocation that says, I believe in this, and this is what I want to do. I want to help people. Our volunteers, I feel really excited about the fact that these are people who say, in addition to what I'm doing in my day job, I want to help someone. I want to help, make a difference in their life beyond what I'm doing in my normal work.
Okay. Well, what about the legal aid lawyers then, Dori? That they're not doing something different. That is their job. Mm-hmm. Aren't they? Are they good lawyers or not?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a softball, but go ahead.
The legal aid lawyers are some of the most devoted, dedicated, hardworking lawyers you will come across. The caseloads that legal aid lawyers can manage and do well are outstanding.
Yeah.
And so it's you will be lucky when you work with your legal aid lawyer, because you're working with people that I know I've said this, but they're experts in these areas. I mean, this is what they do every day. And they're passionate about it, and they're looking for positive outcomes for their clients. And so
I'm going to interrupt you because we're out of time. Real quick, somebody wants a volunteer attorney. What's the number?
Our number is 218-723-4005.
Okay. And what's this Lollapalooza thing?
Lollapalooza is our fifth annual fundraiser on April 28th, and we bring the whole legal community together, attorneys, judges, justice partners, and we have a great time. So there's music. We're excited to have Minnesota Supreme Court Justice Ann McCaig speaking this year, and come out and see us at Lollapalooza.
All right. Everyone should come. All right. That's all the time we have. Please join us next week when we answer your questions about the rules of the road, including those for joggers, bike riders, and even animals. I want to thank our panelists this evening, and thank you for watching. I'm Sean Quinn. Good night.